12-year-old Emma had always been different. While other kids in her neighborhood spent their afternoons on swings or glued to phones, Emma could usually be found in the dusty garage tucked behind her small home in a quiet American town. The garage was old, the tools even older, but it was sacred ground to her, the place where her father's dreams once lived. Now, they were hers too. Her small hands, covered in grease, moved confidently over the exposed engine block of a classic Shelby Cobra. The car wasn't just a machine to her. It was the last memory of who her father used to be, a brilliant mechanic, once known for restoring vintage muscle cars with care and love, until a spinal injury at work had confined him to a wheelchair. Life hadn't been easy since then. Bills piled up, dreams fell silent, and the sparkle in her father's eyes had dimmed. But Emma remembered it all, the way his face lit up when he spoke about the Cobra's roar, the gentle way he held a wrench like it was a violin bow, and the quiet ache in his eyes when he rolled past the garage door he could no longer walk through. Emma never asked for help. She watched, she listened. From the time she could walk, she had been by his side, handing him tools, mimicking his hand gestures, soaking in every story he told about torque, timing, and tuning. When his hands could no longer hold the tools, hers picked them up. Each day after school, she would rush home, throw on the oversized coveralls her dad once wore, and disappear into the garage. There, under the dim light bulb that flickered like an old heartbeat, she worked. Her fingers, still slender and childlike, moved with surprising precision. She rebuilt parts, cleaned carburetors, and adjusted valves. Her only audience was her father, sitting nearby, a blanket over his knees and pride in his eyes. Sometimes he'd offer a quiet suggestion, other times he'd say nothing at all, just watching, as if afraid a word might break the spell of her growing genius. She wasn't doing it for a school project. She didn't post videos online or boast to friends. This was something far deeper, a silent vow between a daughter and her father. She would bring the Cobra back to life, not for the thrill of speed or the shine of chrome, but to restore something in him that life had taken away. The car itself was a mess when she started. The engine block was rusted, the wiring frayed, the body worn with time. Most adults wouldn't dare touch it without a professional, but Emma approached it with reverence, like an artist with a broken sculpture. Piece by piece, day by day, she cleaned, fixed, and reassembled. Her hands became calloused, her nails always blackened, but her spirit, stronger than steel. Passarsby would sometimes peer into the garage, curious about the sounds of tools and the sight of a young girl buried under a hood. They'd shake their heads or chuckle, thinking it was just a child playing pretend. But anyone who stayed long enough saw something magical, a determination far beyond her years, and a love that turned even cold metal into something warm. And then came the day she installed the final piece of the engine. Her hands trembled slightly as she tightened the last bolt. Her father, unusually quiet, looked at her with eyes shining. "You did it, Em," he whispered. She looked back at him, unsure. "Try it," he added, his voice breaking. She reached for the keys. In that dusty garage, surrounded by oil stains and forgotten dreams. She was about to turn the ignition on more than just a car. She was about to restart hope. The engine didn't roar to life just yet. That would come later, but in that moment, with her father watching, something already began to hum, the return of a belief that no dream, no matter how broken, is ever truly lost when love is strong enough to rebuild it. The afternoon sun cast long, golden rays across the cracked driveway as Emma wiped her hands on a rag, unaware that her world was about to shift. Inside the garage, the Shelby Cobra sat like a sleeping giant, gleaming in places, dusty in others, its reborn heart waiting beneath the hood. Emma had just finished checking the wiring when the sound of tires crunching gravel made her look. A sleek black car rolled to a stop in front of the house, the kind of car that looked too expensive for the neighborhood. Its tinted windows glinted in the sun before the doors swung open with a smooth, almost theatrical hiss. Out stepped a man in an immaculately tailored suit, all silver-haired and pied. Behind him, two other men followed, both with weathered hands in the quiet confidence of people who had spent their lives under the hoods of million-dollar machines. These were no ordinary visitors. Emma blinked, wiping her forehead with the back of her sleeve. Her father, watching from his usual spot in the garage doorway, shifted slightly in his wheelchair, a flicker of surprise on his face. He knew who they work in the car world did. The older man was Gregory Vance, a notorious collector of rare muscle cars and vintage engines. The other two were Mason Clark and Eli Tran, engineering legends who had been featured on magazine covers and televised restorations. They were known for their brilliance and their egos. Asterisk, I heard rumors, Gregory said as he stepped forward, his polished shoes crunching lightly on the dusty concrete. A mechanical prodigy in this town, a genius mechanic, thought I'd see for myself. Asterisk, his eyes scanned the garage, expecting to find a seasoned man, grease-stained and grizzled. Instead, he saw a 12-year-old girl in oversized coveralls, her face smudged with dirt, her eyes calm and steady. Asterisk, Gregory raised an eyebrow. You're the one who worked on the Cobra? Asterisk, Emma nodded. I rebuilt the engine, tuned it myself. Asterisk, there was a pause. One of the mechanics let out a short laugh. Is this a joke? He muttered under his breath. Not quietly enough. Asterisk, the other one shook his head, clearly unimpressed. This engine needs precision. Years of experience. You can't learn that from YouTube and a screwdriver. Asterisk, Emma didn't flinch. She didn't lower her eyes or apologize. She simply took a step back and gestured toward the car. Asterisk, I'll show you the engine, she said. Let it speak. Asterisk, the men exchanged glances, amused. Gregory shrugged, curious. Now, go on then. Asterisk, Emma reached into the driver's side and turned the key. The engine came to life in a smooth, deep growling, even perfectly tuned. The sound rolled through the garage like thunder wrapped in velvet. It didn't hiccup, didn't rattle. Just a beautiful, powerful hum that only a Cobra at its best could make. The laughter stopped. The mechanics stepped closer. One popping the hood, the other examining the block with wide eyes. Gregory walked around the car slowly, his expression unreadable. The man who had chuckled earlier now looked at the spark plug wiring, tracing it with reverent fingers. Asterisk, this is exceptional, Mason whispered. These calibrations, the airflow ratios. Asterisk, she used a flat tappet camshaft, Eli added in disbelief, old school, perfect for this engine. Asterisk, Gregory looked at Emma, something shifting in his expression. The condescension was gone, replaced by something else, respect perhaps, or, asterisk, Emma stood tall, arms folded, her chin slightly lifted, not with arrogance, but with quiet certainty. Asterisk, my dad taught me, she said. I just listened. Asterisk, no one said a word for a moment. The only sound was the engine, purring like a cat that knew it was finally home. In that garage, something more than horsepower was roaring to life, a truth that shattered assumptions and rebuilt belief, that greatness doesn't come with age or status. Sometimes, it comes from a little girl in a dusty garage, brave enough to let her work do the talking. The garage held its breath. Dust floated lazily in the afternoon light, the kind that made everything feel suspended in time. The visitors, three giants of the car world, stood in a tight semicircle, their faces unreadable. Emma sat in the Cobra's seat, small hands trembling slightly as she reached for the key. Her heart thudded so loudly she could hear it echo in her ears, but her eyes stayed steady. Asterisk, she looked once at her father. He nodded, his fingers curled tightly around the armrests of his wheelchair. No words, just belief. Emma turned the key. There was a beat of silence. Then, the engine roared to life with a deep, powerful growl that filled the garage like a symphony. It wasn't loud or showy, it was smooth, clean, perfect. The kind of sound that told real mechanics everything they needed to know. The kind of sound that only came from precise timing, careful tuning, and hands that understood the machine. The mechanics froze. Their postures shifted as the sound hit them. First disbelief, then shock, and then without anyone saying a word, each of them moved closer, pulled in by the engines, music like moths to a flame. Eli leaned down his ear near the carburetor. Mason placed his hand near the headers, feeling the vibrations. Gregory Vance stood dead still, his eyes wide with something between awe and confusion. Asterisk, this isn't possible, Mason murmured. Asterisk, no computer? Eli asked. This was done manually. Asterisk, Gregory finally spoke. His voice, rough. Who taught you this? Asterisk, Emma stepped out of the car, wiping her hands on her coveralls. She didn't smile, didn't gloat. She just turned slightly and looked at the man sitting quietly at the back of the garage. Asterisk, he did, she said, her voice soft but firm. I just listened. Asterisk, the room fell quiet again, but this silence was different. It wasn't disbelief now, it was respect. The kind that didn't need words. The kind that took root in the soul and made grown men rethink everything they thought they knew. Asterisk, Gregory looked at Emma's father, his expression shifting hard edges softening. Then he turned back to the girl. You didn't just build an engine, he said slowly. You built something that's alive. Emma nodded. I just wanted my dad to hear it run again. There, it was the truth. The heart behind the horsepower, the love layered into every bolt, every weld, every quiet night spent learning not from textbooks, but from the rhythm of a father's voice and the language of his passion. In that moment, the garage was no longer dusty or small. It felt holy, a place where something had been reborn, not just a car, but dignity, pride, and a bond that no injury could erase. And the Cobra. It didn't just purr, it sang. The air in the garage had changed. Where just minutes before there had been tension and skepticism, now there was something else, something warmer. The growl of the Cobra's engine had faded, but its echo lingered in everyone's chest like a secret melody. The mechanics stood back in silence, still processing what they had witnessed. Gregory Vance, the millionaire who had seen everything money could buy, remained motionless, staring at the young girl who had just redefined everything he thought he knew about brilliance. Then, slowly he stepped forward. His polished shoes tapped softly against the stained garage floor until he stood before Emma. For a long moment, he didn't say a word. Then, to everyone's surprise, the powerful man with the world at his fingertips bent down and knelt so he could look her in the eyes. You know, he said, his voice quieter now, almost reverent. I came here looking to buy talent, but I found something much more rare. Emma blinked, her hands still stained with oil, her body frozen in place. I found a heart bigger than any engine, he continued. A soul that works not for praise or profit, but for love. Her father watched from behind, motionless. His hands gripped the wheels of his chair tightly, as if unsure whether this was real or just a dream he didn't want to wake from. Gregory took a slow breath, then reached into his coat and pulled out a small card. I want to offer you something, he said. First, I'll have the Cobra shipped to my international workshop, not to fix what you've done, but to finish it together with the best tools and materials in the world. Your name will be etched into the engine plate forever. Emma's lips parted, but no words came out. I'll also fund your education. Any school you want, any program you choose, engineering, design, mechanics, the path is yours. She felt her heart pounding in her chest, louder than any engine she had ever tuned. And one more thing, he added gently, looking past her toward the man in the chair. Your father's medical bills, I'll cover them all. The silence that followed was thick, full of emotion too big for language. Emma's father opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came. His eyes, always so steady, now shimmered with tears. His little girl, his partner, his legacy had done what he never could. Not just rebuild an engine, but rewrite a future. Emma took a shaky step forward. I didn't do it for this, she whispered. I know, Gregory replied, his voice catching just a little. That's why it matters so much. For the first time in her young life, Emma didn't know what to say. The tools that had always given her confidence now sat still beside her, but she didn't need them. In this moment, her silence said everything. Her father wheeled closer, reaching out. She turned and fell into his arms, sobbing into the shoulder that had once lifted heavy engines, and now carried a weight of pride too large to measure. And around them, the garage didn't feel small anymore. It felt like the center of the universe, where heart and humanity had just outshone all the horsepower in the world. The road stretched out ahead like a ribbon of possibility, glinting under the afternoon sun. The sky was wide and cloudless, and the air held the scent of warm asphalt and freedom. For the first time in years, the Shelby Cobra rolled forward, not pushed, not towed, but alive, humming beneath the hands of the one who brought it back. From silence. Emma sat behind the wheel, barely tall enough to see over the dash without a cushion beneath her. Her hands gripped the steering wheel with calm control, her face glowing with something deeper than pride, peace, maybe joy, a feeling that couldn't be measured in RPMs or engine specs. Beside her sat her father. He hadn't been in that passenger seat since the accident. Just lifting him in had taken time, and patience, and care. But when the engine came to life that morning and the keys were placed in her hand, Emma didn't hesitate. She had built this moment with every bolt she tightened, every late night she spent learning from his quiet voice. And now, the moment had arrived. The Cobra glided onto the open road, not in a rush, not trying to impress, just cruising, like a victory lap written in sunlight. Her father looked at her, the wind brushing through his thinning hair, his hands resting lightly on his lap. His eyes never left her. You didn't just fix an engine, he said, his voice trembling slightly. You rebuilt my spirit. Emma swallowed hard. She didn't answer right away. She didn't need to. Her smile said everything. And when she finally glanced at him, eyes filled with love, he knew he was looking at someone not just gifted, but extraordinary. Behind them, a luxury black car followed slowly at a respectful distance. Gregory Vance sat in the back seat, the window down, his hand resting on the frame as he watched the Cobra roll forward. No cameras, no reporters. Just a man quietly witnessing something more powerful than anything he'd ever bought. Love in motion. In that moment, even he, wealthy beyond measure, famous in every car circle, felt small in the best possible way. Humbled, inspired, changed. On that stretch of road, with nothing but blue skies above and a restored engine purring beneath them, a father and daughter rode together toward a future they thought they'd lost, and the world, whether it noticed or not, was better because of it.